It's a little bit of a liberty. It actually is what you said. You know, it's not called copywriting. It's called the Big Book of Words That Sell. And I do say in the book that, you know, this works in any kind of written or oral communication.
Absolutely, yeah. So like I said earlier, guys, listen to me. This is like the keys to the kingdom. If you know what you want to say, but you don't know how to say it, it's in this book. And granted, it's not going to be written exactly for your business, but all you have to do is just make a few slight adjustments to any of these phrases that he gives you or words to sell, and it's done. Literally, for all these different things, if you have a scenario in business where you're trying to sell something, it's in this book. Any scenario you can imagine, it's in this book. Hey everybody, I'm Ken Newhouse, and I'm going to welcome you to the Get Clients Now podcast, the show where high-growth consultants and professionals come to access the newest and most effective methods and systems for online marketing, advanced sales and persuasive communication strategies, and automated marketing funnels. And if you're wondering if the Get Clients Now podcast can help you get more high-value clients, enjoy more sales, build a massive tribe, and make more money, you're absolutely going to love this show.
Newhouse's work completely blows everything else that we've ever done with Google out of the water.
I have been looking for a way to grow my presence online, and what I've viewed from Newhouse's work was something that certainly is faster than anything I've seen before.
He says he's going to do something and he does it. He does it in the time frame that he says he's going to do it in. It's exciting when you talk about the results that you're going to get, and you can believe his word because he follows it up with action.
The Newhouse is direct. He's to the point. He tells you what's on his mind, and he backs his words up. From what I know now, from working with him, he's passionate about his work, and he backs it up 100%.
What I like best is you offer something that no one else has out there, which is a pretty comprehensive approach about marketing a system.
If somebody asks me, should they use Newhouse's team? Absolutely, because you're going to get the important information that you need very, very quickly.
On the internet, on the different marketing techniques, I've never experienced anything like this.
I would definitely recommend Ken Newhouse for someone who's serious about growing their business. I think that your results based on the numbers would at least double the sales in a very short time frame.
Hey everybody, Ken Newhouse here from funneltribes.com, and I want to welcome you back to the Get Clients Now podcast, where the one-size-fits-all marketing model is dumb, the client-centric business model is king, and the sales control system gives you the tools to build your tribe with certainty. This is episode number 323, and on today's show, I'm going to be continuing my conversation with one of the world's most famous direct response copywriters, and that would be Bob Bly, and we're going to be talking about his newest best-selling book, The Big Book of Words That Sell, 1,200 words and phrases that every salesperson and marketer should know and use. Now, I'm just going to clarify something very quickly before we get started, and that is this book will work for you whether you're a salesperson or not. In fact, all of us, if we're in business, to one degree or another, we're in sales. But having said that, this book will work wonderfully, beautifully, immaculately for you if, as an example, you're a dentist, a chiropractor, you own an insurance brokerage, maybe you're a real estate agent, maybe you're an internet marketer, maybe you're an online entrepreneur. Doesn't matter. Brick and mortar mom and pop shop, doesn't matter. You need to know how to communicate and communicate very effectively and magnetically with your perfect prospects, your patients, your clients, and customers. And in the Big Book of Words That Sell, Bob Bly has given you literally a masterpiece. This is some of his very best work. And if you're one of the handful of people that don't know all that much about Bob, let me just run through his bio with you very, very quickly. Certainly, this guy is a legend, a living legend, and I don't say that lightly, but Bob Bly from Montville, New Jersey is a professional writer, speaker, and marketing consultant with over 3 decades of experience in business-to-business, high-tech, and direct response marketing. Bob became a self-made multimillionaire when he was still in his 30s. Bob is the author of more than 100 published books, including Careers for Writers from McGraw-Hill, Secrets of Freelance Writer from Henry Holt, The Copywriter's Handbook, which I have read myself, and in fact, I've read many of his books, and The Elements of Business Writing from Allen and Bacon. World-renowned publisher McGraw-Hill calls Bob America's top copywriter, and that's a title, guys, that we should not take lightly. Bob was also named the Copywriter of the Year by the American Writers and Artists Association. In addition to that, Bob writes a column for Target Marketing Magazine, as well as the Direct Response Letter, which is Bob's free marketing newsletter. And that newsletter has over 60,000 subscribers as we speak, and that's in 2019 alone. Now, you can check out Bob's website at www.bly.com. That's bly.com, bly.com. or you can contact Bob at bly.com/contact. Now, in the show notes and at the end of the show, I'm going to give you the URL for some resources, actually 4 free things Bob's giving away for free. We're going to be covering some pretty cool stuff in part 2 of this episode, but certainly Bob has been very, very generous because he's offered the members of the Get Clients Now Nation, those of you that are listeners and followers, he's offered you some very cool resources for free. And if you're like me and if you're like my most successful members and clients in the Funnel Tribes community, you definitely want to get your hands on this stuff, if nothing else, to put in your file, in your swipe file. I mean, this guy is one of the most incredibly talented copywriters on the planet. And so as you listen to part 2 today, I want to encourage you to take notes and pay very close attention because Bob's going to give you not only some really cool stuff out of the book, but Bob's going to give you a couple pearls that are going to help you that are not included in the book. And the only way you can get this information that he's going to give today is if you actually hired him. So the fact that he's going to give us a couple of really awesome pro tips today. And by the way, yes, I've already done the interview, so I know what the content is. But having said that, guys, this is worth its weight in gold. This is one of the best interviews I've ever done as far as transferring value to the members of the Get Clients Now Nation. This is the real deal. So whether you're a copywriter, whether you're a marketer, whether you're a brick and mortar business, a professional, maybe a dentist, a chiropractor, it doesn't matter. You have to know how to communicate in words other than body language, which we cover in different episodes. But as it relates to words, words are incredibly important. And if you can become a master communicator by learning from people like Bob and myself and others, there is no limit to the success you can achieve in your business and in life. Master communication, and the sky is the limit. All right, so if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and dive back into part 2 of my interview with Bob Bly, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Okay, so Bob, one of the things that, we've all heard this, the WIIFM theory, or the formula, I guess, is best. So when you write about in the book, what's in it for me as it relates to coming up with your marketing message or your communication or the copy you write on paper, why is this so important? Because I see especially dentists and like chiropractors, professionals violate this all the time, not only in their marketing, but in their communication with their patients. Why is this so important? First of all, what's it mean? And second of all, why is it absolutely like the death knell to your process if you violate this?
Let me give you an example, if you don't mind, that's not dental. There are 4 levels of what a product can do. The bottom level is the features, which is what it is or what it has. So in tire advertising, you've heard this term. We sell double-ply steel-belted radials, and they think that's going to sell the tire. Most people don't know what it means, and it doesn't say what it's going to do for me. So up from the feature is the benefit, which is, this car has better braking and stopping power, especially on a wet road or on ice. Well, that's the benefit. So that's important. But then we have what we call the ultimate benefit. And that's what we're talking about. What does it do for me? And I don't know if you remember, there was a Michelin commercial, a TV commercial, where the visual was a tire and a baby was sitting in it.
A baby.
What they were saying, if they said it directly, it would be crude. But what they were saying is, buy our tires and you won't kill your baby.
Yeah. Or the opposite of that would be, if you don't buy our tires, without stating that,
you will kill your baby.
Yeah, you're putting your baby's life at risk.
You're putting your baby's life at risk.
Yeah.
That's what's in it for me.
Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't have to be specific to dental, because I think, obviously we have other people who are listening, but feel free to give me anything, because I think obviously if they're smart enough to listen to this show and subscribe to the show, and we just hit 100,000 this month, which is awesome, but
congratulations.
Actually, wait a minute. We're in October. Yeah. Okay. I was thinking we're in November. Yeah. So 100,000. Yeah. I never thought I would get that many people listening to the show each month. It's just insanity, but I'm happy.
That's impressive.
It is. But having said that, I think if they're smart enough to listen to this show and listen to, super smart, super successful people like you, I think it goes without saying they're smart enough to figure out some of these examples. So if you can't come up with a dental example, because I know you work with people across the board, just give it anyway, because anything you give me, any pearl you want to give on the show, I'm going to be frank here. I'm actually getting more out of this than I think some of these people might. I don't know. So part of me is being selfish here and wanting to learn from you while I got you on the phone, because I couldn't afford to pay. Well, I could afford to pay you, but you're probably not accepting, people to get on the phone and teach them. But having said that, what's the relationship between targeting your prospects correctly when we talk about gaining their attention, interest, and response? And you may have answered this question again, and And if so, because I'm going to get into in just a second, I'm going to get into the different ways in which you teach us to, as an example, use words to grab attention or to create a perception of incredible value for people. So I'm going to dive into those in just a second, but just touch on this because this is one of the things that I wrote down. What's so important about the process of targeting people correctly so that we can nail down their attention, we can magnetically attract them, lock them in, get their interest, and then generate a response?
Let me go to the last one, generate a response. One of the keys that most people, most businesses don't realize is that you have to offer a benefit, but you will increase your response greatly when you have a legitimate sense of urgency. Why does the prospect have to do this now instead of later? And I have a dental example. I was hired by a firm in Australia that it's a chain of places that do dental implants. And, they're expensive. And so I thought we had written a pretty good ad, but I said to him, the one problem is there's no reason in our ad why you have to get this now instead of later. You could just say, all right, well, I'll put up with my teeth for the way they are, and, and I'll think about spending this money later. And I talked with him, and he told me, and again, I'm not a dentist, but this is what he told me. He said, if you have missing teeth, your jawbone will alter in shape, bringing them closer together, and then there'll be a point where you will not be able to put in implants. And so we put that in the ad. We said that, and we said, do it now before it's too late. And that made the ad, the ad was successful, but I think that contributed to it. There was a reason to act now instead of later. So that's a very, and we have in the book, lots of phrasing to help you do that, create the sense of urgency, which is the thing most advertisers, most marketers, and certainly most doctors and dentists don't use enough in their marketing.
That's absolutely true. And you mentioned that you have phrases in the book, and these are like, I said this earlier on, these are like the keys to the kingdom, because if you're looking for a way to say something and you don't know how to say it, you have literally given hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different examples in here of exactly how to say this, but like multiple variations of it, like different examples. So like some of your chapter headings in the book is targeting and engaging audiences. And so I'm going to just read these real quick, and then I want to dive into a few examples. So you got targeting and engaging your audiences. Then and under that, you got like a whole bunch of different types of situations. And then under each one of those situations or scenarios, you've got dozens of examples of how to say what you need to say. You got another chapter on how to grab your prospects' attention, like grab them by the lapels so that they're dialed in, they're focused on what you're going to say. Under that, again, you got a lot of different scenarios. And then for each scenario, you got like dozens of examples. The third one is create a perception of superior value. How many of us would kill to be able to create the perception? And remember, guys, perception is reality. And we use words to focus and shape and direct the perception of our prospects. But create a perception of superior value. So you go through a whole bunch of examples on that and scenarios, and then you got examples of like cheats to help people do that, and then underscore products' advantages. Another section is give proof of effectiveness. I mean, these are killer, guys. You don't even understand what he's giving you here. This book is not worth $15. It's worth $1,500 easily, all day long. The last one is convert call to action into sales revenue. That's incredible. So, Bob, can we dive into just a couple examples real quick?
Sure. One of them, again, and I can move to other examples, but this is very common. One of the things you want to do in terms of making the sale is show, we call it the drop in the bucket technique. We want to show that the price we're asking, and in some dental things, it's a lot of money and it's out of their pocket. The price we're asking, yes, it's expensive, but it is a drop in the bucket, compared with the value you receive. Let me give an example from another field. Decades ago, I had a client who was a newsletter publisher, and they were promoting a newsletter aimed at the corporate world, basically for human resources people. And one of the major topics it dealt with happened to be hiring, how to hire employees and how to interview them and so forth. So the newsletter was $149 a year. which back then was a lot for a thin 4-page newsletter you got once a month. And I did some research, and I found out, and it was statistically valid, there was a lot of research to support this, that when an employee quits, it costs 3 times their salary to replace them. So I said in my copy, this newsletter is $150, $149. If you have a $50,000 employee and you don't hire the right person, you make a mistake, it's going to cost you $150,000, that mistake. Would you spend $150 to avoid wasting $150,000? And it did. I still have the promotion somewhere, and it did very well.
Man, what I would give to have your swipe file, I would kill.
Well, it's not a dental swipe file.
Doesn't matter.
But look, well, let me give one tip though. If your listeners want to see not a huge swipe file, but a decent swipe file, if they go on my site, which is Bly.com, www.bly.com, and click on the button in the main menu at left, Portfolio, they will see dozens of examples of stuff I've written, including in dental, in many different industries, excuse me, in many different media. So that's a starter swipe file.
Well, that and the book, I mean, obviously, my first starting place, and correct me if I'm wrong, would be obviously the first choice is to get the book, and then from there, as they progress deeper into this.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like, Dan used to joke around about letting us come in and go through his filing cabinets and, look at all of his swipe files. That was back when we actually kept things on paper, but I'm sure Dan did most of the time. And can you do something for me? I haven't, the word is that, he passed away, but then the word was, no, he didn't pass away. I honestly don't know if he did or not.
I've talked to people about this, and it's very confusing. As I understand it, the last time that I communicated with people he knew, he was in hospice, and I forget the exact condition, but he was expected that he wouldn't live that long, and I think he's still alive. He may be able to beat this, and I'm praying to God that he can.
Yeah, because, knowing Dan, I read one of the letters that he wrote to recommend his successor to his one of his companies, and I thought, if somebody's going to die in 10 days, they don't write letters like this. I mean, they just don't do that. And so, I have just a world of respect for him. Him and I differ on a lot of things, like spiritual things. I'm a devout Christian, but that's a different story. But I just know him. I know some of the shenanigans he's pulled over the years, not to rip people off or anything, but, kind of shock people and surprise them. And this, it wouldn't surprise me. I know he's had health issues most of his life, but I just didn't really know. I haven't talked to him, like I said, personally for a number of years. But anyway, so could you do you have time to give us a few examples if I run through this with you, or how are you doing on time if we go a few more minutes? Okay.
Sure.
So if we wanted to, as an example, let's say that we were going to create a marketing promotion, whatever, and we wanted to grab someone's attention. Can you, I'm going to pull this up real quick. Let me see here. Like conveying a sense of urgency. A lot of times people don't act because we don't imply, or we don't, how can I say this? We don't create enough urgency in our marketing campaigns.
I'll give you a good example of one I don't think it is in the book because it's so specific, and I didn't write it. A client of mine, Agora Publishing, you probably know them.
I definitely know them, yeah.
Has a number of health newsletters, and one of their promotions was a digest mailing, a self-mailer. It had a black cover, and in bright, I think it was yellow or light red letters, the headline was, "Read this or die."
That's awesome. I love copy like that. I do. And, too many people are afraid to write stuff like that. They are. And, to be fair, I will say this. Bob, earlier you mentioned about people thinking that their technology, as an example, is going to, make all the difference for them with their marketing. And what you said about that was 100% correct. I mean, much of what I do is marketing automation and, with Facebook and writing copy and things for my clients. But having said that, everybody who's, there are plenty of people who are really good at knowing how to use and take advantage of Facebook marketing and automation. And it's the copy that makes the difference. It's that sets it apart. But there are some things that you just can't say on Facebook. And I don't know that I could actually say, not that I wouldn't use this, because I would. And one of the things that I teach people is, hey, once we get a really good solid connection online with these people, and if they're a high enough value prospect, let's pull offline and start using direct mail to go after them once they've, jumped through enough hoops for us. But, use this or die. I don't know if that would float on Facebook.
Well, I'll tell you the problem with Facebook, and I agree with what you say. Once you capture them, you can email them directly or postal mail directly. The problem with Facebook is that they are hugely restrictive on advertising. So you'll notice if you go on Facebook, if you try to place a weight loss ad on Facebook, like lose 14 pounds in 3 weeks, they will not allow it. So what do you see instead? You see an ad that says, your doctors say don't eat this vegetable. You've seen a million of those because people click on them, and it turns out that the vegetable is something that's starchy or that would add carbs, and then people click on the landing page where you do talk about weight loss. But they restrict. Facebook is very restrictive, and also Google is restrictive, but Facebook is the most. So that's the biggest challenge. In some categories, it's easy. In others, it's very difficult. In email also, there are email distribution services that most of them are very restrictive, and they prevent certain things. For example, people see all this stuff on the internet, how to get rich and make money. Most email services, Pinpoint, Constant Contact, they won't permit that. And if you do, now that you can get away with it because they're just not watching you, but if one day someone there watches you and sees it, they'll close your account.
Yep, and you lose all those contacts, yep.
And it has happened to a number of people.
As technology has played a bigger part in the, the marketing of our practices and our businesses, certainly my own, you've had to develop new skill sets in addition just to being really good at writing copy.
I agree.
Like learning how to kind of weave and interact and engage and use these systems in a way that allows you to use it. You got to be very creative in order to be effective. But you made a really good point earlier on about everybody knows how to use the technology. When I say everybody, enough people know so that
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, just even people like me. There are plenty of people like me who know how to use this technology, but they don't know how to write copy. And copy and being able to write and being able to communicate, like I said earlier, words are incredibly powerful tools. If people understood what they could accomplish if they could master language and master writing skills and master marketing, how that would transform not only their business but their life, I think a lot more people would give it the due diligence, the attention that it deserves. But can you give us examples of how to create like a perception of superior value? Because I know a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people today, specifically, like, again, I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but dentists, chiropractors, professionals, even a lot of businesses, they're like a commodity. They're like a roll of toilet paper. So they are forced to compete on price, or, hey, we're closer, or, hey, we're on your insurance, or whatever. And there's nothing that really sets them apart. So if they truly do have a superior, like Dr. Drew, Dr. Randall, he's got legitimately a superior service that he's offering. He is not a commoditized dental practice.
Right.
And so helping him communicate that has been like one of my priorities. So what are some examples of how we can create a perception of superior or higher value so we don't come across as just another commodity and we're forced to compete on price or, some of the other nonsense that people have to compete on when they're seen as, like a roll of toilet paper or paper towels?
Let me give you a couple of examples from, again, outside dentistry. Are you familiar with the company Harry and David's?
I've heard of them, but I'm not really,
Yeah, they're a weird company. They've been around for, it's not a century, decades, and they were the first to sell fruit by mail. They're known for their Royal Riviera pears, and they send out catalogs where they're selling. It's incredible. They're selling, and they're not the only ones who do this. There are companies that sell fruit. So how do you say your fruit is superior? So they have their main product is these pears. So two things they did. They named them Royal Riviera pears, and that is not an official species of pears. That's just their name. So right away, it sounds valuable, exclusive, and superior. And then their slogan is pears so rare and delicious, not one person in a thousand has ever tasted them. Now that sounds so exclusive, but if you took it literally, it means no one buys them.
I remember that now because that's in your book.
But it's the exclusivity and the rarity that make it sound great. And then they have another one. They're trying to say that their grapes are better than the grapes you would buy in a supermarket. And they say, our grapes so large and lush, they make ordinary grapes look like birdseed. Yeah. So another one is sometimes here's an interesting one. Add an extra to the product or service that seems and is very valuable, but won't cost you much. A guy I know, as I do, did corporate writing seminars. He did seminars in business writing, and he was more expensive than the competitors, but he offered something they didn't. He said, when you hire me to come into your company and teach, the classes are 10 or 15 or 20 or 25 executives how to write, you'll also get free use for 30 days my editing service. Any student who was in the class can send me what they've written and I'll review it. Now, you could say, well, how could he afford to do that?
Nobody sent it in, did they?
No, you're so astute. Nobody sent it in. It was that offer that convinced a lot of clients to hire him, and then no one sent it in.
I think mean old Dan learned that from you or somebody, I don't know, but I learned that.
No, I learned from Dan. I want to correct that. I often used to call myself, I used to say Bob Bly is Dan Kennedy light. He was my hero and is my hero.
But I learned from Dan many, many years ago with his $1 Million Marketing System, he put in a $300 value on his critique certificate. So you could send him in your ad copy or whatever it was he said, or he would, get on the phone with you. I don't think he would get on the phone, but he would review something and it was a $300 value. But he prefaced all that and he said, I'm going to teach you how to sell or how to create money out of thin air. And we were like, okay, so what are you talking about? He's like, here's what it is. So you just add this to whatever you're selling. And he said, if someone sends you an ad, whatever you promise on the coupon, do it in earnest. But I'm going to tell you right now, nobody's going to send it in. And so when I created
totally correct.
When I created, that's where I learned it 25 years ago, probably easily. But it's true. And it's not like you're trying to, pull a shenanigan here. You're not trying to.
No, it's a legitimate offer. You're not being dishonest at all.
It is. But here's the cool thing. Nobody takes you up on it. So you increase the value. You sell a lot more of your stuff. But then again, nobody turns around and takes advantage of it. And if they do, hey, give them, do your best for them. But it's a great way to sell more stuff. And that not only applies to information if you're selling it, whatever you're selling, even from your brick and mortar store, from your dental practice, wherever, this kind of stuff works. Now, it can't be something tangible, like you're going to mail them, a product that you have to dig $50 out of your pocket for that you would normally sell for $250 and then give away free, because then everybody's going to ask for it. But if it requires them to actually do work, okay, hence the, if you write an ad, I'll critique it for you. How many people actually do the work once it's done? So therein lies the genius of this. And so having said that, so Bob, I just have one more question. Do you have time for one more question?
I have as much time as you need.
Okay. So here's my question. What's the one question regarding, first of all, your book, The Big Book of Words That Sell, that I didn't ask today that I should have asked you?
I'm not sure you didn't ask us or we didn't get to it, but what pops into my mind is, why do I need from Bob Bly or anyone else another copywriting book? And the answer is, almost every copywriting book teaches technique and psychology of persuasion. This one is your cheat sheet, your swipe file of proven persuasive words and phrases that have been used and tested over the decades, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. A simple example, we want to say something that is technology is modern and easy to use. It's an old expression, but push button. Now, most people know that, but there are other ones. I'll give you one example. Someone actually called me once and said, he was a copywriter, says, I'm trying to make my deadline seem more urgent. And I put in, this offer expires November 15th, 2019. And he says, that's it. It's a deadline. How could you make it sound even more urgent? And I said, add this phrase. After this offer expires after November or December, whatever. It said 15th, 2019, period. And then add the sentence. After that, comma, it's too late, period. And that adds urgency. Now, that's not an original phrase, but not one working copywriter or marketer in 1,000 knows that. But now it's right at your fingertips.
Yeah, let me just add this, guys. Yes, this is a book that pertains directly to people who are writing marketing copy, but let me just add this caveat. You can use these words when you're speaking to a patient or a client or a customer face to face. So if you're looking for, as an example, ways to make your presentations, or like a case presentation for a dentist or a chiropractor, or a presentation when you're trying to sell stuff either to one, you're going nose to nose and toes to toes with someone, an individual or a group. This is information that you could use to beef up your presentation so that it becomes much more magnetic, much more effective, so that you're going to convert a lot more of these people. So yes, from the reason Bob wrote this, and Bob, I'm going to take a liberty here. This is for people who write copy, but at the same time,
it's a little bit of a liberty. It actually is what you said. It's not called copywriting. It's called the Big Book of Words That Sell. And I do say in the book that, this works in any kind of written or oral communication.
Absolutely, yeah. So like I said earlier, guys, this is like the keys. Guys, listen to me. This is like the keys to the kingdom. If you know what you want to say, but you don't know how to say it, it's in this book. And granted, it's not going to be written exactly for your business, but all you have to do is just make a few slight adjustments to any of these phrases that he gives you or words to sell, and it's done. It's literally for all these different things. If you have a scenario in business where you're trying to sell something, it's in this book. Any scenario you can imagine, it's in this book. And so again, like I said, buy the book. It's going to work wonderfully for you. You're going to make tons of money by using it. And if you can honestly call me or email me after that and say, hey, I tried all this and it didn't work like you said, which is not going to happen. But if it does, I'll buy that book and replace it with another one of equal or lesser value. Bob, it was a pleasure having you on the show today. And this was a real honor for me personally, because I understand the contributions that you've made, not only to, the industry per se, but to me personally. And I do, like I said earlier, I count it an honor because I have a lot of professional respect for you. You've done a lot of great work, and it's been a real pleasure for me. And I do, again, want to thank you for being on the show. Anything you want to say before we close? Again,
no, except it was my pleasure also. And the reverse or the converse is the feeling is true. I was just introduced to you through this show, but you're an extremely impressive guy, and you've built something that is valuable and impressive. So my kudos to you.
Thank you for saying that. And guys, just real quick, Bly.com is B as in boy, L as in Larry, Y as in Yankee.com if you want to get those resources. Bob, you said it was on Bly.com. Is it?
Well, yes, but I'll mention, I have online a library of 4 of my special reports on marketing that normally sell for $116, and we do sell them, and you can get all 4 for free, and again, combined value $160 if you go to Bly.com/reports. They're free.
All right, I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. And guys, listen, you are absolutely insane. Listen, it's free. And so knowing Bob, not personally, but just Bob knowing your work and having read a ton after you and studied after you for many, like over a decade easily, probably 15, 16 years at least. Guys, you can learn from this stuff when it's free. It's literally, when he says it's worth a certain amount of money, I'd say it's worth multiples of that, because if you study what he's done in these reports, I mean, he's giving you, I think you underprice your stuff, Bob. But guys, go to his website, and Bob, I'll put the links to that in the show notes. But that's very generous of you, and I just want to say thanks on behalf of myself, and I'm gonna go download those myself.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Thanks again, Bob, and we'll talk soon, hopefully.
All right, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If your business is struggling and you can't crack the online marketing code, and you'd like to access the newest and most effective strategies, systems, and tools that are working right now in the trenches, check out the funneltribes.com online community and discover how thousands of consultants and professionals just like you are transforming their businesses, building massive tribes of loyal clients, and making more money.